Have you ever felt emotionally tortured on the inside because you feel like setting up a boundary in a relationship that you originally thought was perfectly reasonable? It seems to be the one thing that ended up driving the love of your life away. Hello, friends. My name is Maria, and I know what it's like to be left feeling regret for standing up for yourself, because now you're all alone, and maybe you were being too rigid. Maybe your demands were too much. Maybe you should have just stayed quiet and not said anything at all, because at least they'd still be with you, right? I have a viewer named Steven who also knows what it's like to feel like this. He put up a boundary in his relationship that I'm sure any of you out there would feel like is very morally correct. But as his story goes on, you'll see how it seems to be the one boundary that pushed his girlfriend, a woman, his first love, and pushed her away from him. Now Steven's left wondering if he wasn't the one who messed everything up. Maybe he should have compromised more on his values, and that way he'd still have a date for Saturday night with the woman that he loved. So I'm here today to read Steven's story and let him know, well, let all of you know, that if you begin to compromise your values in situations like his, it will eventually eat you alive. So as always, grab that bottle of nail polish and let's talk. I'm going to go ahead and read the letter that Steven sent to me. I'll make some comments throughout. I'll give some final thoughts for Steven at the end. And for context, they're both very young. It's the first real relationship for both of them. And here's what Steven has to say. Hey there, Maria. I was in a relationship with a girl who I thought I was going to marry for almost 10 months. Kira was my first real love, and I believed we had something special. She told me I was her first real boyfriend, and for a while, everything felt genuine and beautiful. We shared affection, laughs, future plans, everything. I loved her so deeply, and I truly thought we could build a life together. But from early on, there was one thing I struggled with. Her friend group, but specifically her ex, was a big part of it. I'll call her ex Zach. Zach was Kira's childhood friend. They went to elementary school together. In the past, she dated him very briefly for only a week. She said it wasn't at all serious, and all they did was kiss. Still, they were extremely close, because I found out he was her ex after her friend group already had a co-ed sleepover, and Zach was there. When I eventually found out, I was shocked, but I said I'd be okay with it as long as Zach respected boundaries. I told her calmly if he ever crossed the line, I wouldn't feel comfortable with him being a part of our lives. And as time went on and events unfolded, he did cross a line. But back to when I first found out Kira and Zach had dated, I simply said, I understand. It makes sense if you're trying to still be his friend, but I need us to have some boundaries. I was even open to peace and trying to get to know her friend group. In January, I invited everyone, including Zach, to go bowling. Zach agreed and showed up, but then he says to me, when we're done bowling, we're all going to a sleepover at my house that includes your girlfriend, and Steven, you are not invited. Absolutely not okay. And I cannot stress this enough. But I know that you already know that, because you say after that, I didn't tell Kira to cut people off. I didn't ask her to change her life or give up her friends. I just said one simple, healthy thing. No more mixed gender sleepovers. Not because I didn't trust Kira, but because that dynamic disrespected our relationship. Yeah, you have a monogamous, committed relationship, and co-ed sleepovers, it does disrespect the dynamic of that relationship. She's not single anymore. There's not one emotionally healthy, red-blooded man that I personally know that would be okay not being in attendance overnight with the woman that he loves sleeping next to other men. And you are right to be worried, because Steven, I know that even though you trust her love for you, not everyone in this world deserves to be trusted, and I'm not up here demonizing men. All I'm saying is, just like some women respect boundaries and some don't, some men are respectful of boundaries and some don't respect women's boundaries. That kind of situation can unfortunately become very dangerous. All it takes is one jerk, Stephen, and I know that you know that, and I know that every guy out there also knows that, because you wouldn't be okay with your girlfriend doing this either. I wouldn't be okay with my daughter doing it. Totally honest with you. Stephen says, that's the moment I realized Zach didn't want me there. I wasn't being welcomed. I was being pushed out. That's when I drew the line. That exes shouldn't be a part of our lives, no matter how brief the past was with them, especially after the disrespect. Well, if anything, Stephen, it's more like exes who are acting like Zach inappropriately, like a possessive boyfriend, should definitely not be an integral part of your relationship. Stephen says, and to Kira's credit, she respected that. She didn't go to the sleepover. She chose me, and she loves you. She upheld the boundary. At first, Kira was on my side. She admitted Zach's behavior was wrong, and she wouldn't let it slide. But over time, things changed. For months, she showed me with her actions that our relationship came first. But over time, she became distant, and I could tell the tension was hurting her. She stopped seeing her friends because Zach was always there. She felt isolated, and I began to feel like the enemy. She was in pain, even cut herself once out of emotional distress, and that broke me. I never wanted to be the source of her pain, and we're going to address that in a little bit. The breaking point came just recently. Her parents supported me throughout this, especially her dad. They could see through Zach's manipulations of Kira and the friend group, and they tried to help. They called a group meeting at their house and invited all of her friends, including Zach, for a talk. I was blindsided because it turned into an ambush. Every time I tried to speak, I was shut down. That's the problem. You don't get it, was the only reply I kept hearing from Zach and her friends. Her friends backed Kira's ex completely. Her sister even began defending group sleepovers with guys, saying she shares a bed with guy friends and her boyfriend better not mind or I'll beat him up. That's super healthy. Zach kept mocking me for having insecure views. I was outnumbered, humiliated. Nothing I said mattered. It was like being on trial in a courtroom where everyone had already decided I was guilty. Zach dismissed my concerns, called me insecure, said I had old-fashioned views, and told me I should just see him as a childhood friend, not an ex. Zach is not acting like a guy who is just a childhood friend. You are not, listen to your gut on that one. Like, he's going full bore on this, and I'm sure Zach is someone who doesn't like to be challenged, and the way that he tries to win arguments is by making the other person feel small and stupid. And I also guarantee you that that week he had with Kira meant a lot more to him than it did to her. It means more to his ego at this point than that week ever meant to her. I mean, when you set up the boundary, she did choose you right away. Stephen, from my perspective, I think Kira's issue in the relationship, she's not upset about losing Zach. She's upset because she feels like she's losing her entire social life. And as much as we want to be the whole world to the other person that we love, we can't be their whole world. It's so important for people in relationships to have their own friends, to have their own hobbies. We can't be the end-all, be-all, everything for them, and it would get pretty boring. And good, bad, or ugly, whether this friend group is healthy or not, she's going to cling to them because she feels like if I don't have these people in my life, then I don't have friends. Of course, it's like, oh, Stephen entered my life, but now I'm losing my social life, and over time it can foster a lot of resentment towards you, and resentment it's really hard to get through in a relationship. Stephen continues, Zach was raising his voice at me. Meanwhile, I know he was at sleepovers at other girls' places, despite he himself having a girlfriend. Well, Stephen, people have the right to live any kind of a lifestyle that they want. If Zach's girlfriend is okay with it, then okay. But that's not the relationship that you and Kira had. Everyone has the right to want what they want. But both people have to agree on the terms of the relationship, because that's the only way it's going to work. All right, Stephen continues. Something about Zach just screams manipulative and disrespectful. Her dad started yelling at him, saying how manipulative and disrespectful he was towards Kira. But then his oldest daughter, Kira's sister, started clawing her dad's arm to shut up, and they almost got physical. Yeah, this is a very dramatic meeting. Doesn't sound like a super healthy family dynamic either. During the group sit down, it was not good. It doesn't sound good. I felt like Zach just said all the right things, and Kira cutting herself was all blamed on me. And here's what I want to say about that to you, Stephen. I feel badly that Kira is someone who cuts herself. That's terrible. But you cannot take responsibility for something like that. This kind of behavior was in the making long before you came into Kira's life. This is how she's learned to deal with stress and pressure, and if she doesn't get help for it, she will continue to be someone who harms herself in order to deal with the stresses of life. If anything, I believe you loved her enough to try to help her work through it and stop. I believe you when you said that you love her and you want to take care of her. And by the way, any man who loves his girlfriend would never be okay with her going to a co-ed sleepover without him. And I'll tell you why. Good men walk on the outside of the sidewalk. They get out of the car to pump gas at night. They escort women to their vehicles after they've left the restaurant. And they wait until their date is safely inside of their home before they pull out of the driveway. And good men don't let young women alone in beds with other men. They just don't. This boundary that you've drawn about no co-ed sleepovers, that's you being a good man, Stephen. That's you taking care of the woman that you love. Stephen asks, I have asked myself, was I too much? Should I have tried to be Zach's friend again, even after the disrespect? No. Zach is extremely immature. He's a troublemaker. And he obviously sees you as a threat. And you know what? He's also not being a genuine friend to Kira. You see, you're anxious and you feel guilty because you feel like you accidentally hurt Kira by taking it in. It wasn't in a direct way, but you feel guilty about accidentally taking Kira's friends away from her. See, Zach is purposefully trying to isolate Kira from her own boyfriend, and he knows what he's doing. He is totally out of his bounds, and I'll tell you, if things were reversed, if I had a boyfriend and some girl told me that he was going to sleep over at her house and I wasn't allowed to come, I couldn't handle it. If he went anyway, I would break up with him because I wouldn't feel like he's ready to leave his single life and make me a priority. And I also would never want to feel like I was the person keeping him from his friendships. Because again, I do believe that over time, it might be okay at first, but it's going to breed resentment in a relationship. I think resentment is the number one killer in relationships next to, I think stonewalling is like the juggernaut, and then just resentment. I believe you're right that you're not asking for anything unreasonable, and I think the reason you're getting so much kickback on it, I don't think Zach likes you because you are a good man. I believe a big reason why he doesn't like being around you is because he can tell that you have very genuine characteristics that he struggles to have within himself, and being around you makes him feel very uncomfortable. That's just my hot take. Now, at this point of the ambush, Stephen is, he's kind of freezing up. He doesn't know what to say. He says, I didn't do anything. I didn't know what to say, except I asked if it's, would it be truly right for me to go sleep over at other girls' places when I'm in a relationship, especially without Kira? And if anyone's parents here do that, or if anyone's parents who are married still talk to their ex, let alone see them regularly. Very valid questions. And I also grew up going to church, and there was absolutely no husbands I ever heard saying things like, oh, well, this is the weekend my wife goes to sleep at Mark's house for his sleepover. No, never. It's not even a thing. Zach said I have backwards views and that of old generations. No, you just have a different view, and you have different needs and different things that you want in your relationships. And that's okay. Zach is a manipulator. Steven says, I feel humiliated. I feel like a cuck at times. That's C-U-C-K. And I can understand why. If the relationship makes you feel this way, it's a good indicator that there aren't shared values and there's not a reciprocation of respect going on. Like I wasn't respected. Okay, well, there you go. You're not wrong. You and I both had the same thought about this. Like I gave and gave and gave, and in the end, I still got left. I think everyone here is familiar with that kind of feeling. I feel like my feelings didn't matter enough. You know what, Steven? I feel like it's more like she needs to get to a healthier place where she doesn't let friends, exes, siblings, all these outside forces push her around. And I do believe that we meet people that are kind of on the same vibration that we're on at that time in our lives. And I feel like you both struggle with a little bit of really being solid in what you want, and maybe you both struggle with allowing outside forces to kind of push you around and make your boundaries a little more wobbly than you'd like them to be. I used to let my own sister bully me. What car to drive, what classes to take. And now that I'm healthier, I know more of who I am, I have a more confident mindset, that kind of thing would never happen today. And I believe a lot of this comes with growing up and learning how to love and protect ourselves more. Steven continues, the things that were said to me during that sit down, I just froze. Zach said what I'm asking for is impossible. Oh yeah, no, it's definitely impossible not to have your girlfriend go to co-ed sleepovers. Ridiculous. He kept mocking me for having insecure views. I was outnumbered. This guy is completely self-important, and at some point, he's either going to be arrested for aggravated behavior, or at the very least, somebody down the line is going to give him a good pop in the nose, or he's going to be arrested for giving someone else a pop in the nose. Trust me, I know guys like this. You are right to not to want to be friends with him. He's a troublemaker. We don't want people like that around us. I don't like him either. And who does this kind of stuff to someone? Bullies. That's who does this kind of stuff. Bullies put people down, try to make them feel small, and gang up on them. And I am so sorry that you had to experience this, Steven. Keep holding on to your boundaries. We can't control anyone else, but we don't have to sink to their level. All right, well, here's how this ambush ended. I was again blindsided by Kira breaking up with me in front of everyone, packing my bags with gifts I gave her and dropping it on the floor for everyone to see. It was not good. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to fix things so bad. I was scared. When everyone left, I stayed for a few hours to try to fix things and talk. And during our last talk, she said she loves me too. But when I said she has to take accountability and that this wasn't right, she started pushing her finger into my chest that I don't understand. She doesn't understand. She is definitely confused, and her physically pushing you is her trying to push her internal pressure onto you. Kira has a hard time handling pressure. This is her pattern. Stephen says, it didn't hurt too much, but it was not a good feeling. I feel like the line of getting physical, putting hands on your partner was crossed. Yeah, she's going to have to learn how to handle pressure in a healthier way. But also, look at this boisterous, aggressive, obviously, I mean, her older sister was threatening to beat up boyfriends, hypothetically, and clawing at her dad. This is the atmosphere that Kira's grown up in. You know, it's going to rub off on her too. And also, Kira started shaking me. I thought she was going to beat me, and all I could say was, please don't. Yeah, which totally reminds me of her older sister saying, if my boyfriend doesn't like it, I'll just beat him up, you know? This is how Kira grew up. Loud, aggressive atmosphere with threats of physical violence. You did not cause this, okay? You came into her life and you loved her, and I'm sure if anything, you would certainly want better for her. You could show her something better. I don't know that she's in a place in her life right now where she is able to receive love from a good man like you. Later, I sent Kira a message apologizing for ever making her feel unheard or pressured. You were the one who wasn't feeling heard, Stephen. It's funny how we apologize to other people, but we don't see how it actually, there are times when they should be apologizing to us for the same exact thing. I said I never meant to hurt her and that I'd always be open to talk. That's when she blocked me. You're open to talk and she blocks. I talked to many friends and my priest after this. They all say it's not normal what happened. It's not. All right, so the breakup happened 2 weeks before Stephen wrote me this letter. And he says, I've been having doubts. He's been in no contact. She's blocked him. He says, I've been having doubts. Doubts that I was really insecure. That I should have accepted being Zach's friend. Maybe I should have let go of the boundary and given it an actual chance despite everything to try to be his friend. No. Just no. And this has been eating away at me. I know I'm coping and making excuses, but she has known him since elementary school. Okay, I grew up in a small town. There's plenty of guys I'm friends with on Facebook. Maybe see them out like, hey, at the Walmart, you know. How's it been since 4th grade? I've known plenty of guys in my town since elementary school. I don't go sleep over their houses on the weekends because I have a partner who not only wouldn't be okay with it, and maybe it's toxic, but he'd probably feel like he needed to go beat those guys up. I'm not saying you should do that. Violence is never the answer. I'm just trying to really just drive it home that nobody in a committed, monogamous relationship, man or woman, wants their significant other sleeping in beds unsupervised with members of the opposite sex. And again, especially for women, it's also a matter of safety. It just is. You can know someone from elementary school and, you know, like their memes on Facebook. It's totally fine and way more appropriate. Should I text her parents and test the waters because I'm blocked? But they did like me to see if maybe she'll give me another chance. Well, unfortunately, Stephen, even though her friends are saying now you can come to the sleepovers, and even though her parents liked you, those are not the people that you are in a relationship with. And that's the bottom line. You know, I used to live with my dad, and I told you about my older sister that kind of liked to sort of bully me and push her agendas on me and kind of push me around in the decisions I made in my life. Well, at one point, when I didn't want to hear, I wouldn't answer my phone. So she would call my dad and have my dad come in and shove the phone in my face so she could continue to try to talk to me about her feelings. And it didn't make me want to listen to her anymore, and it sure didn't make me have friendly feelings towards my dad at the time either. So that kind of thing really isn't the answer. Stephen says, I'm heartbroken, humiliated, and confused. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I'm the one who ruined everything. Should I have just been friends with him? No, we've already covered that. Did I lose the love of my life because I held one firm boundary? I loved her so much. I wanted to help her grow, support her, accept her completely, and I did, but she has to do it too, Stephen. This is the thing that's kind of missing here. I commend you for being the kind of person who's willing to fight for your relationship. And in long-term relationships, you're not always going to agree with each other. That's a fact. But the reason why long-term relationships end up being long-term relationships is because even though you guys might wildly disagree on something, the one thing you agree on is that you both want the relationship and you're willing to work through whatever the problem is. Love is war, but it's not a battle that you fight alone. The other person has to be there next to you. And right now, this is almost like she's a princess sitting in a castle and she has a wall up and you're trying to climb the wall. But she should be right there next to you, climbing the walls of the obstacle of life. She's not supposed to be the princess inside the castle, moving farther and farther in because, you're trying to break the door down. It's not going to work that way, That Zach guy's a dragon. He's a big weaselly dragon hoarding your girlfriend, since we're doing metaphors. I'm really sorry, but, there's only so much you can do about it. You got to let other people make their own decisions. Plus, if you continue to be rejected by this woman, if you keep going back to her over and over and over, here's what it does to you psychologically. It stops being, I'm being rejected by one woman, and it starts to make you feel like you're just an effing reject. Now you're just a reject. You're someone who gets rejected. It is so mentally harmful for you in the long run when it comes to your future relationships. Yeah, that's the point I got to. I couldn't let go of one person when they would try to reject me, and I just don't want that for you. You're only 22 years old. Please learn from my mistakes and maybe mistakes of the other viewers who would also like to share their experience in the comments. I also want to say I understand why you're so frustrated right now. It's like your courtroom example. It is like you had your day in court, but you never had a chance to take the stand and speak. I believe that there might be a time down the line when you and Kira can have a very mature conversation with each other, but it's not going to happen if she's blocking you and, you're trying to climb that wall. You have to wait till a time where maybe she is open to making her own decision to unblock you, making her own decision to reach out to you. Or maybe you'll run into her a few years later at a Walmart and you guys can sit down somewhere and talk. And you do say at the end of your letter, I know I shouldn't give up this boundary after all the disrespect. Good for you. And ask her to come back and try to be friends with her ex and all that. It wouldn't be good for her or me. No. If she hopefully comes back, it will be because of her own choice and learning a few things and maturing. See? You know the answer, Stephen. You have it inside of you. And one of the things, I agree with your decision here to let go and let God. And if you love her, definitely pray for her. But here's the thing about trying to get her into a sit down. One of you, right now, one of you is going to have to compromise something. She's obviously either going to have to compromise friendships, which will eat her alive, or you're going to compromise on her going to the co-ed sleepovers and you're going to have to spend all your time with this Zach guy, and it will slowly but surely eat you from the inside out. Right now, this doesn't end well. And if she does want to come back and try to fix things with you, it's got to be her idea. People break up for lots of reasons. And if I were to do a video on 3 reasons your ex could come back to you, one of the reasons would be if the breakup happened due to outside pressures, not necessarily because the person didn't love you anymore. But she's got to love you enough to want to fight through it with you, because you guys are at the beginning of your life. This Zach guy isn't the only Zach that you're going to hit in life with your partner, and you want someone who can get through these things with you, not someone who life hits her with a Zach and you're the one out the door. This is all your fault. You do not want that. Stephen, After I read your story, I said a prayer for you. And I painted my nails with a nail polish called Holding Hands. And I'll tell you why. Because a few months ago, my daughter's 2, and she sees me painting my nails. And she wants to be like me, right? And she watched me, and it's the color that she used to try to paint her own nails. Because she saw something that she wanted. She saw someone that she wanted to be like. So she modeled that behavior. And I would suggest for you in your future that you stay close with these people who are attending church with you. Find couples that model the kind of relationship that you are looking for. And also, you're getting a lot of kickback on someone who's coming from it doesn't seem like the healthiest family dynamic. They don't seem to know a lot about boundaries, or they probably wouldn't be letting their female children go off to unsupervised sleepovers. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but it's more like one of my values is I want to keep the people that I love safe. And I know that's one of your values too. People hang out. It's not just relationships. People hang out with other people who share their values, even in friendships. For example, I don't want to do drugs, so I don't hang out with people who do drugs. And you see this in couples. Couples who like to swing hang out with other couples who enjoy swinging. And couples who like to go to church and go to Olive Garden for lunch afterwards, you know. They enjoy praising the Lord and raising the endless bread basket. Couples hang out with other couples that have similar values. I would encourage you to build a social life through people that you meet at church. You obviously are going to have a lot more in common with them when it comes to your values. And don't forget about watching people who are modeling the things that you want. Observe them. Learn from their patterns. Look back at patterns in your relationships that have not worked for you. And please try not to take this thing with Kira too personally. Kira is not a bad person, but I believe she has a lot of inner work to do. And again, because I do see some of myself in her, and I know the turmoil that I was going through at that age, I don't believe that she is ready to know, even begin to know how to be in a healthy relationship. And I think it's going to take some wanting to heal and also some oxygen and distance from these friends or from her family dynamic. Going away to school, to college, you know, it can kind of go either way. She might go out there not having learned healthy boundaries, and college could be a real hard time for her. But it also might be a time where she's going to finally learn some really hard lessons, and she's going to begin to sort of, you know, wedge her way into the world and begin to recognize her own mistakes. And people look back and they learn from mistakes they made, like giving up guys who were wonderful. Every girl out there who's dumped a good guy for a jerk, trust me, they think about it and they regret it. Stephen, I know that this is your second girlfriend in the past year and a half. You're obviously someone who's able to attract other people. Keep strong in your boundaries. Don't give up, okay? No matter what happens with Kira, keep going. My name is Maria Adriana. You did not have to live Stephen's life, but I certainly hope you can learn something from it. As always, thank you for visiting. The other half.